This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So many fun moments from Obama's State of the Union Redux address at U of I on Friday.
Which he repeated the next day in California, and he's just going to repeat for the next, 58 days until the midterms?
Well, I mean, he's been repeating it for 8 years. You just, 10 years, you just now introduced Trump into the formula. And rinse and repeat, it seems to work. Barack Obama on a free press.
It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say that we don't threaten the freedom of the press because they say things or publish stories we don't like. I complain plenty about Fox News. But you never heard me threaten to shut them down or call them enemies of the people.
Right. We never heard you.
But yet you attacked certain members on Fox News by having them investigated by,
James Rosen.
James Rosen, right.
Yeah, so if the Trump administration would have been discovered to do anything approximating what the Obama administration did to James Rosen, I mean, you want to talk about hue and cry. He tweets and the D.C. press corps goes into full meltdown. Let's just recall, since I know the D.C. press corps doesn't have any institutional knowledge and has plenty of willful blindness, investigators looking into disclosures of sensitive information about North Korea got James Rosen's telephone records and a warrant for his personal emails, but also used his State Department security badge to track his movements in and out of that building, according to an Amazon Post report. This began in 2009 when Rosen reported U.S. intelligence believed North Korea might respond to tighter UN sanctions with new nuclear tests. And so Rosen was treated as like an unindicted co-conspirator by Eric Holder's Justice Department. That's President Obama's Justice Department.
Wow. So
which is more chilling for you, fourth estate absolutists, of which I'm basically one? Is it the actual conduct of the Obama administration, or is it the tweeting of the Trump administration, the principle?
I mean, Eric Holder signed off on the search warrant and labeled him as a flight risk.
This is, well, right, yes. Look, this may serve, I mean, again, Democrat overreach may be the best thing Republicans have going for them. They're really feeling their oats, and you saw President Obama preening on Friday and then on the campaign trail subsequently. Chuck Todd was doing the same thing with Charlie Cook talking about the midterms. And the argument that Chuck Todd makes, this is fascinating, that, the Republicans on the Senate side, forget the House is already gone. The House is for sure in the Democrats' camp. The blue wave is coming. That's Charlie Cook's prediction effectively as well. But the Senate is really in play because Chuck Todd really wants it to be. And according to Chuck Todd, the Republicans have a subpar field of candidates because nobody wanted to run with Trump.
You look at the Republican recruiting and you look at the Democratic recruiting. It seems as if in almost every race, the Republicans got their second or third choice, and in almost every race, Democrats got their first choice.
Yeah, maybe.
Even Charlie Cook won't take that bait.
I mean, they always feel like they could have done better in West Virginia. They feel like they could have done better in North Dakota. They feel like they could have done better in Tennessee.
But I think that it reflected a nervousness about President Trump.
Yeah. So then Charlie Cook tries to find a way to agree with little Chuck Todd. I really don't understand Chuck Todd's career. It's like he's sort of like the Carson Daly of politics. There's no talent. There's no particular record of accomplishment, but somehow he's supposed to be the ringmaster driving political discourse inside the Beltway. It's bizarre to me.
Well, if you look at his career, I mean, he never moved around the country to further up in the network. He worked for some cable news and then immediately jumped to NBC. And then Tim Russert died. David Gregory took over. David Gregory didn't work out, and then he filled in.
Yeah, but forget all that.
Well,
what are his political bona fides? Interning for Tom Harkin?
Yeah, that's it.
For more on these topics and more, we're pleased to be joined by Tim Carney, who does have political bona fides. He's a senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. Tim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So, subpar Republican Senate candidates. I don't know. Mike Braun beat two incumbent Republican congressmen in Indiana. He seems to be, it's never easy to take out an incumbent, but he's poised for a victory. Josh Hawley is in Missouri. Rosendale in Montana is a statewide elected official. Kramer, North Dakota, is North Dakota's one congressperson. Yep. I mean, on and on.
No,
do we have a subpar field of candidates?
I don't think so. I would like to see Chuck Todd show his work there. I think generally I probably have a higher opinion of Chuck Todd than you do, but that was a claim that he didn't give information for, and that Charlie Cook reaction was perfect. I mean, those examples you gave are right up there as far as saying, this was sort of a normal year to get prominent congressmen, to get other statewide elected officials like in Missouri, et cetera, out there running is a pretty normal field. You look at the Democrats' good years of 2012, 2006, 2008, and that's a lot of what they did. You put up Congressman Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. You put up the Secretary of State in the Midwest. Like that's a good recruiting year. So I think sometimes I used to work for Bob Novak, you guys in Chicago.
Sure, Prince of
One
Darkness.
of the things that we made sure to do when we were analyzing the races, it was my job. We wrote the Evans-Novak political report. We never let some sense of a national mood cloud our race-by-race analysis. And I wonder if that's the idea, this feeling that we have here in the Beltway, things aren't going well for Republicans, then just sort of, instead of looking at the facts, some people are saying, I guess nobody wants to run with Trump.
What do you think?
Rather than looking at the race by race, as you just quickly did right there.
Well, with the midterms, 57 days away from now, former President Trump out on the campaign trail. He's breaking with tradition. Normally, we don't hear from former presidents. How do you feel about him out there and trying to get out the vote, so to speak?
Well, you can see what we think about former President Obama on the campaign trail. Look at our editorial in the Washington Examiner today, just saying, spare us, please, as you guys were talking about. This idea, he was right. He said, Trump is not the problem, he's the symptom. Okay, one of the problems was his immediate predecessor. One of the things that, I know so many people who would have been never Trumpers up until Election Day, but they looked at Barack Obama's assaults on religious liberty, and people. You work I ran into priests who just said, "Look, I think my ability to do my job is imperiled if the war that Barack Obama began continues." There are people who had guns and said, the White House was so willing to legislate from the executive, even beyond the bounds of the Constitution, that what would the next White House do as far as taking away guns by executive order? Those policies, together with those attacks on the media you talked about, really made a feeling these guys are not just against us on policy, they're actually against us. They're trying to use policy as a weapon. That was divisive. That made it so that people in the Republican primary said, we need somebody who's going to smash things as a nominee. So yes, Trump is a symptom, and one of the viruses that caused it was the 8 years of Barack Obama.
And we're going fast forward to this administration, and on the policy side, what's going on in the Hill, the effort to stave off government shutdown theater. Some suggestion by President Trump amid reports that the number of illegal border crossings spiked in August, that he could use the military to build a wall if Congress won't fund it through Department of Homeland Security. Is that just sort of saber rattling by Trump to keep it front and center that he intends to keep his promise about the border wall and border security, or is this a real coming to a head that is in the offing?
So analyzing Trump at this point is tricky because he likes to sort of play the hardball negotiator, and that does sound like that sort of tactic. On the other hand, some of the things that I thought were just hardball negotiation He's gone through with Jerusalem, moving the U.S. embassy in Israel into Jerusalem was the sort of thing every president talked about. And then Trump actually did it. And you thought that was just a chit to play with regard to, other Arab countries out there, but he actually followed through on it. So here I think there are potential legal and constitutional issues. You can't use the military as a border guard. Using the military to build a wall in the U.S.
Army Corps of Engineers.
Army Corps of Engineers is part of the Army. It's got a specific task to do that. It does weird things like dig canals and the swamps in Florida. Who knows what else it's doing? But, sometimes with Trump, I wait about a week after he says something to try to figure out whether to take him seriously and literally or neither.
Are you guys paying much attention still to who wrote the op-ed?
It's still a fun game. If you get about 5 or 6 different reporters in the same room or at the same bar, that's sort of what people are talking about. There's a confidence that it will come out. One of the big questions, though, is whether it was proper for the New York Times to run it. So I run the opinion page at the Washington Examiner, and somebody tried to write us something under a pseudonym because their boss didn't want, because he thought that his boss wouldn't like it. And I said, you know what? No, that's not a good enough reason. If you were a dissident in Iran, I'd let you write under a pseudonym. Here, I don't think I would have granted anonymity to that writer had they come to me. And so that the New York Times did, you wonder whether they would have done the same. I mean, I knew lots of dissident types in the Obama administration. If they had come to the New York Times with an op-ed and said, by the way, here's why I think Obama's breaking the law and wanted it anonymous, I don't think the Times would have granted the anonymity.
Yeah, that's a good point. He is Tim Carney, senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. Tim, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Annie.
Take care.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.